Hey everybody, welcome to Design30. This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to use the rendering in the rendering capability in Fusion 360 to take your design, your product, your part, and just kind of add some life to it. So this is something that, when you're designing products in CAD, sometimes it can look pretty dull, maybe not really demonstrate what it's going to look like aesthetically. So what Fusion 360 offers is this really quick and easy way to add color to it and make a photorealistic rendering. You can even add texture, things like that. So for this tutorial, I'm just going to download a random part from McMaster, which you can see I have pulled up here. And we're just going to go through this process together and see if we can make this part, in this case, is going to be a fan. See if we can make it look a little bit better, make it look realistic, and kind of bring this product to life. So, as I mentioned, we're in McMaster here. And if you don't use McMaster-Carr, you should, because it's incredible. I always call it the Walmart for engineers. There's all sorts of awesome stuff. And one of my favorite things about McMaster is you can also get SolidWorks files or step files of whatever part, or almost all the parts you can find on here. So we're looking at a wall mount fan here. I'm going to open up the product detail. You can see a little bit of what's going on. So pretty big wall mounted ventilating fan. I'm just choosing this randomly. The product itself or the part itself isn't that big of a deal. But what we're going to want to do is download this as a CAD file of some kind. So if you're using SolidWorks, obviously you can download SolidWorks. But since we're using Fusion 360, I want to use a step file. So download that. Okay, let's see if I can get that open. I'm kind of off screen here, just going to my downloads, and let's see. I'm not seeing that. Let's try downloading that one more time. There we go. Okay, looks like that is going. It's probably a decently large file since this is a pretty big fan. You can see the dimensions here. But one of the other benefits of SolidWorks, they have kind of their own little product render here that you can see. They have a drawing with some basic dimensions. There's also a lot of other details. If you scroll down, get all of that in here. You get some of the materials that they use. You can see if it's ROHS compliant. A lot of good information, then kind of a basic description of the part right here. So it looks like that is downloaded. So I'm going to go to Fusion 360. Okay, and now we're going to open up what we just downloaded. So I'm going to go open from my computer. Let's go to downloads, click on this, and let's see how opening this file goes. Again, this one it's probably a fairly large step file, just based on the size and dimensions of this fan. So it might take a little while to open up here. Hopefully not too long. Okay, it looks like it's doing something at the end. Here we go. There it is. That is pretty good, pretty quick. So you can see here, it's all basically the same color. You can obviously tell it's a fan, but it doesn't really pop. It doesn't really have any life. It doesn't really look like a product that you would, doesn't look like how you would see it in real life, right? So that's one of the major benefits of being able to do a product render. Before going into rendering, I am going to save this. So let's see, build product design. Let's save it just into Design30 tutorials. Since I'm zoomed in here, it's kind of hard to see where this is going to be saved. Let's open up this file. It looks open. There's nothing in there. Let's go ahead and save that. Okay, so one of the things you can do if you are working on a part that you care about the mass properties of, you can go to modify. You can change the physical material right here so that if you're going to do perhaps some simulation, some stuff like that. And you need to have the right material properties. If you want to get the right mass, obviously you're going to want to set that. You can also add some appearances right here from the when you're in the design workspace. But we want to go straight into render. That's what we care about right now. We just want to go through an exercise of trying to make this look good. Okay, so now we're in the render workspace. And here you can do an in-canvas render to see what it's going to look like as it's rendered. Right now, it's just the default, however that step file came in. So there's not really much of an appearance going on. But this might slow your computer down a little bit, especially if you're using an older computer. So you probably want to run or put on a lot of your appearances without that. So I'm going to come up here, click on appearances, and now you can start scrolling through all these different materials and things like that. But you might be asking, okay, well, I don't know exactly what all these materials are, which is probably true. So you can go to your McMaster page and see what does it say it's made out of. So you can see the blade material is plastic, the frame material is also plastic, the louvers are automatic, and blade material is aluminum. There it is right there. The guard material is stainless steel. So you can see what a lot of your materials are pretty easily right there. And that's going to help inform what we do for this render. I'm going to exit out of a lot of these guys. Don't need those anymore. Okay. So it said this guard material is stainless steel. So we're going to go into metal. Let's see if we can find our stainless. Oh, there it was. And you can see we have different types of appearances for stainless steel. If you want it to be brushed, if you want it to be radial, maybe you want it to look cast, a satin look. For this, I think it will be best to go with a satin look. So I'm going to grab and drag and drop. You can see how it essentially already highlighted that guard material. One thing you might want to see are the guard body. You might want to see what bodies are actually in here. Since we imported a step, there's a lot of different bodies. Something to pay attention to. Definitely makes it a little bit more difficult in the rendering. From a rendering perspective, perhaps I should have picked something with a few less parts, but I think overall we'll be able to get a general idea of what's going on here. And again, you can hit this in canvas render if you want to see what the parts are going to look like once they're rendered. And that can also help you tell if a body has that appearance applied to it yet or not. So here it's looking like this upper body might not have that steel satin. So let's add that on there. Okay. And now we're going to stop that just to speed things up a little bit. Okay, so let's go back to McMaster. What do we want to do next? Okay, the blade material, it's plastic. Doesn't say what kind of plastic, so we can kind of just have some fun with whatever we think looks good. So let's see, where's plastic? Here's that folder. Oh, we can do a white ABS, a black nylon material. What do we want to do? I'm thinking this, let's try this black nylon material. Let's pull that on, see if we can get it. Oh, we're having trouble getting it on the blade itself. So let's try zooming in a little bit here. There we go. Okay. And you can see that is a separate body. So we're going to have to add that to each one. Go through each of these, just drag and drop it. Okay. That looks pretty good. And the centerpiece here, this is something that it doesn't say what material it is exactly. So if you're going for just a render that looks good, you can, have a little fun with it. You can use your own decision making and figure out what you think that is probably made out of. Let's say right now, let's say that's going to be an aluminum material. Let's just say a standard satin aluminum material, which, okay, this is another thing to look at. These sometimes you need to download, and if they have a red dot, usually means you need to update your Fusion 360, and that takes a little while, so I'm not going to do that in the middle of this video. So let's see if any of these, well, let's see if any of these will work. Okay, so it's still letting us drag and drop it, even though there is an update that needs to happen. Okay, and of course you could go through and add each one of these screws is different bodies. So you go through and add a stainless steel color to those if you want as well. For now, since that will take quite a bit of time, well, yeah, probably don't have time to do that in this tutorial. So we'll leave that where it is for now. We just want to get the general look of this. Okay, so let's pop over to McMaster one more time. And for the frame material, it's a polypropylene plastic. Okay, so let's see what we can do with that. So we're going to close up that, close up the metals, go back into our plastics. Let's see, maybe a textured. So not seeing exactly what that polypropylene material. So you might just have to make a decision yourself on what you think this would look like if it were polypropylene plastic. So again, you can go up here and see kind of how it's rendered in the McMaster design. So they have a darker plastic here, maybe aluminum metal material back here. So let's go ahead and follow. Do something along those lines. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to maybe got a black glossy here. Hey, let's do a matte black for these parts. Drag and drop those. Okay. Make sure we're hitting all of the right bodies. Make sure getting all these. Okay. And let's get the bottom side here. All right, that's looking pretty good. And then as we mentioned back here, let's make that out of aluminum. So let's go back up to our metals. Let's go aluminum. Let's keep it with, well, let's just try like a bead blasted aluminum back here for these panels. So now you can really start to see the contrast between the different materials. Oops, not sure where that added. Make sure you're getting it on the right body. There we go. And then it said for these, they are stainless steel as well. I believe it was stainless steel. Let's double check that. Oh no, those are also aluminum. So let's keep going with the aluminum. Let's make those a polished aluminum though, just to make a little bit of a difference. Again, it's a render. If you know exactly what this is going to look like in real life, then obviously try to mimic that with the exact materials. In this case, just doing an example of something obviously we haven't seen in real life. So we're just trying to make it look like a fan that we would expect to see out in the real world. Okay, so we've added appearances to most of the larger materials. Again, you could go through every single screw and add the right appearance to all of those if you wanted to. But let's see what this will look like if we do an in-canvas render. Okay, so this is starting to look like a real fan. You can also adjust what you're looking at if you want to go to a home position, which that's probably not the position we want to be in. As you can see, this is pretty graphically intensive. It starts to slow down quite a bit depending on what computer you're using. Okay. So that's essentially how you add all of your different appearances. You can also change your scene settings. There's a ton of options in here. Depends if you want a ground plane. You can change all sorts of different camera parameters, your focal length, exposure. You can also change your environment lighting. And you can also add backgrounds if you want to make this look like it's in the environment it's supposed to be in. You can spend a lot of time on those details, and I'll probably go into that and do in another tutorial. But in this one, let's find some lighting that we think makes all this look good. Let's try a cool lighting environment. Yeah, it's not really making our colors pop too much. Let's try something else. Try the sharp highlights. Okay, so you can see there's a lot more brightness here. And you can also, what this did is shows we don't have the right material right here. So let's go back to appearance. That pops up, and you can see in this design, you can see all the appearances we've used. We're using a plastic black matte for this. So let's see if we can get that. Okay, maybe that is just a lighting. Could be a lighting issue going on there. So let's go back to our appearances. Let's get this set up properly. Environment. Let's see. What do we want to use? Let's go back to this soft light. Maybe that is more of the lighting we want to use. Let's see what the warm lighting looks like, actually. Again, so these are the things that you can play around with and just see what makes your product really pop out with that type of lighting. And depending on what materials you've used, the size and shape of your product, there's a lot of different things that might look good. Or if you're using it in different scenes, obviously you might want to change your lighting for that as well. So here, it looks fairly good. Let's see if we can adjust where, here we go, the position of the lighting as it comes in and hits our product. We shift that around a little bit. You can see it makes a pretty big difference on the appearance of the product you're working on. In this case, this box fan or big fan. Let's try right there. Let's try that right there. Okay, so then once you get all of those parameters set, you get your appearances set, you can actually start your render. And then here, there is a lot more, a lot of other settings you can mess around with. If you have some tokens, which you can actually purchase through Fusion 360, then you can do your render on their cloud and not have to do it on your computer. In this case, I have a pretty powerful computer, so we're going to do a local render. In this, you can also change your render quality even higher than 75 if you want. Obviously, that's going to take longer. Let's see. I often want to optimize for mobile. Let's go pretty high pixel count. Let's go back to custom. I like to get rid of the background a lot, so transparent background. That way, when you have this downloaded render, you can put it over whatever background you want. I think that works the best, especially if you're trying to make social media posts or anything like that, or put it into your portfolio. So I think that is good enough for now. And let's go ahead and render this. You can see it is preparing for local rendering. And yeah, so now you just have to wait and see how the rendering process goes. You get a little bit of a preview down here. It'll let you know how much time is remaining. This one's actually going pretty fast, probably because you can see it's a little bit zoomed out. So sometimes you need to mess around with that a little bit, zoom in a bit more actually on what the part or the feature that you're wanting to render, so you can get a close-up view of it. Obviously, you can always crop the photo once you download it as well. I have found that the estimated remaining time is often not that accurate. So it can take, it'll say a few seconds. That usually means a few minutes in my experience. Again, this is based on the computer you're running on and what, how souped up your computer is, or if you're running on an older computer, it could take much, much longer. I've been able to do a lot of these renders right on my old MacBook Pro, and it's a 2015, and it pulls it off, but it definitely takes a long time. But looks like this one wasn't too bad. Let's open that up. Okay, so not the best render. It's a little blurry and maybe a little too far zoomed out. So let's zoom in even a bit more here. Let's go back up to our render. Let's change the quality just a little bit. Instead of 75, let's bring that up to 90. Let's render that. Again, this is probably going to take a little while, definitely take longer than the previous render. Okay, it's doing its thing. So sometimes it takes a little while for it to pop up as well. There it is. And it's getting going. So let's go through maybe a few other features in here. Again, you can turn off this in-canvas render. That's going to help you out a lot. Like I said, you could put a lot of time into doing these renders and going through all these different brackets and screws and making sure they have all of the right appearances. If you're building this assembly from scratch and those are all parts you've designed, then when you add the material and the appearance back in the design workspace, which we talked about, then that's all going to be taken care of for you. So that's one advantage to making sure you have the material and the appearance properly applied in each part file. So that when you come together for the full assembly, you're already going to be in a good spot. Let's go back and check on that render. We should be closing in on being done. There we go. All right. Okay, so you can see this one looks quite a bit better. It's a lot closer. Starting to look like a real fan. So then if you like what you got, hit download. Here, we're just going to throw it into the downloads folder. And then let me open that up. Let's see. Okay, I'll pull this over here. And there it is. There is our photorealistic rendering. Again, there's some issues going on here. Not quite sure what that is. This is a step file pulled off of McMaster, so there's going to be some little issues like that you might have to work through. If it's something that you designed yourself, obviously you're not going to have to worry about that. You shouldn't have any random parts floating in there. But sometimes with a McMaster part, you will. You might have to do a little cleanup work to get everything looking good. Get rid of that. But overall, you can see our warm lighting coming in here. You can see some of our different material choices, and it's a render. It's starting to look a lot more like a fan that you would expect to see out in the world. So I think I'm going to leave that there. That is a quick intro to rendering on Fusion 360. Gave you an example of how to pull a part off McMaster, throw some appearances on there, get the scene set up, change your lighting a little bit, and do a rendering. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, and again, it's a great way to bring some life into your part, bring some life into your design. Great way to make images for portfolios or maybe marketing material, social media, all those sorts of things. So I'm going to leave that there for today. Again, if you're enjoying this channel, if you're enjoying learning about Fusion 360, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Design30. And yeah, if you think you have friends or coworkers that would also enjoy this, please share it with them. That's a great way to help support what I'm doing with Design30 and yeah, help support these tutorials, which there will be much, much more coming in the future. So as always, remember, design more, despair less. Thanks for watching.